At 32, he was a struggling aircraft mechanic at a small regional airport on the outskirts of Denver, working brutal shifts for barely enough to cover his mother's medical bills and keep his beat-up pickup from falling apart. The Colorado winter was already gnawing at the edges of autumn, and tonight, the cold bit deeper than usual. It was supposed to be his night off. But when his supervisor called, saying a private jet had an emergency landing and no one else was available, Jason grabbed his worn tool bag and headed in. He didn't expect the jet to be that jet. A sleek, silver Gulfstream G700, gleaming under the tarmac lights like a spaceship from the future. The kind of aircraft only the ultra-rich even dreamed of owning. A small crowd had gathered, airport staff, security, and a woman standing apart, her tailored coat whipping in the wind. Fuel line sensors gone haywire, the captain barked as Jason arrived. Need it fixed now. The owner's got somewhere to be. Jason nodded, too tired to be intimidated. He crawled beneath the aircraft as freezing wind slashed across the open tarmac. His fingers numbed as he worked, coaxing stubborn bolts, running diagnostics, patching what he could with tools too old and hands too cold. An hour later, as he wiped grease onto his overalls, the problem was solved. Good to go, he called out, stepping down from the plane's underbelly. The woman in the coat approached, her heels clicking softly against the tarmac. She was striking, not just beautiful, but with a presence that made people unconsciously straighten their backs. You fixed it? She asked, her voice low and steady. Did what I could, Jason shrugged. It should hold fine until you get it properly serviced in LA. She studied him then, this man in oil-stained overalls, his face wind-chapped and weary, but his eyes clear and kind. The kind of look most people overlooked. What's your name? She asked. Jason. Jason Cole. She smiled, something warm flickering in her eyes. I'm Elise Mercer. The name hit him like a jolt. Elise Mercer, the billionaire tech mogul. One of those names you only saw on magazine covers and news tickers. Before he could fully process it, she stepped closer. You just saved my life, Jason. That malfunction could have killed us at altitude. You stayed out here, in the cold, with no fanfare, no complaints. It's my job, he said, suddenly shy. No, she shook her head. That was more than a job. That was heart. The tarmac lights bathed them in a soft, surreal glow as the night wind pressed around them. Then, to the shock of everyone nearby, Elise said, Jason Cole, marry me. For a heartbeat, time cracked open, the kind of moment where the world holds its breath. Jason laughed, half thinking it was a joke. You don't even know me. I know enough, she replied, her gaze steady. I've met 1,000 people with perfect resumes and spotless suits, but not one who would crawl under a plane in the freezing dark for a stranger's safety. Jason's throat tightened. He thought of his mother, his long nights, how kindness often went unseen in a world obsessed with status. And here was this woman, with more wealth and power than he could comprehend, seeing him. The ground crew watched in stunned silence. I'm serious, Elise added, a softer smile playing at her lips. Maybe not marriage right now, but dinner? A conversation? A chance? Jason stared at her, a grin breaking through. Yeah, he managed. Yeah, I'd like that. She laughed, a sound like music against the cold night air. The next morning, news outlets ran wild. Billionaire Elise Mercer proposes to unknown mechanic on the tarmac. But to Jason, it wasn't about headlines. It was about being seen, being valued, not for titles or bank accounts, but for simple humanity. They did have dinner. Then another. Weeks turned to months. And somewhere between old diners and aircraft hangars, business meetings and midnight calls, they built something real. Years later, standing together in the same spot on the tarmac where it all began, Jason finally proposed, with a ring made of titanium from an old aircraft bolt he'd kept from that night. And Elise said yes. Because sometimes, the right person finds you in the unlikeliest of moments, when your hands are dirty, your heart is honest, and you're just doing your best to make the world a little safer. And that, Jason learned, was more than enough.